far from Sydney, in the bushland near the Georges River, a colony of koalas is living. The colony is located on the eastern side of Campbelltown and stretches from Sutherland to Bowral, with 2 focal points at Kentland and Wedderburn. Until 1986, the existence of the colony was almost unknown, and it was only when a large housing development was planned in the area that the size and importance of the koala population began to be appreciated. Since that time, researchers from the University of Western Sydney Macarthur have mapped the colony and caught and examined many of its inhabitants. Of course, catching a koala isn't as easy as it sounds.
Right, we've got a pretty hard task today, as you'll be able to see. We've got a little koala right up the top of the tree, and our task is to persuade it to come down into a bag so we can wrap it up and take it back to have a look inside its pouch. So, as you'll see, it's quite high and the tree's hanging up over the gorge, so we've erected a wire ladder to take us right up the top of the tree, and I'll climb up on that, well tied in with ropes of course, and I'll have with me a long pole which has got a flag on the end of it, and I'll wave this flag above the animal's head and it'll think it's a wedge-tailed eagle or something like that, and then start to climb down the tree. Now at that point I'm going to see if I can get it to keep running the whole way down the tree without stopping. If it stops, it'll move up another fork, transfer to another tree, jump into foliage next door, and we'll lose her. So what I've got to do is keep her moving slowly but surely. If possible, I might even be able to catch her up in the tree itself, but that's hard, of course, because you've only got 2 arms and 2 legs, and most of that's hanging on pretty tight. So yes, it's going to be quite a lot of fun today.
Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike.
Normally I'd be talking softly to Molly at this time, but I was a bit short of hands, so I had to hold the bag in my mouth.
It's all right, honey. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Once caught, the koala is weighed and measured, its gender determined, and its age and state of health assessed. Each koala examined is fitted with ear tags for identification, and some are also fitted with a radio collar so they can be located again.
This is the collar which we fit to the koalas. The antenna here transmits the signal on the radio frequency. This allows us to adjust the width of the collar, see that the different holes to allow for different sizes, and this is the battery casing. Most of this is the battery, which lasts for about 10 months, and this part here, the small cap, is where all the electronics are fitted in. Together it's all very light, it's only about 80 grams in weight, so that it's not a large burden for the koala. And when we fit it, we make sure that there's at least 3 fingers are able to fit in under the collar, so that the collar is not tight, and that if anything should, a branch or anything should catch under the collar, it will slip over the koala's head.
There you go. It's not too bad, is it? We'll just check where
The collar also allows the researchers to follow the koala's movements and map its home range, that is, the area where it normally roams. If a captured koala appears to have any problems, it is taken back to the university for more extensive examination. With Molly, the researchers particularly wanted to have a look at her pouch. Unlike the kangaroo, the pouch of the koala faces backwards. In prehistoric times, koalas were related to wombats and lived underground. The pouch faced backwards so it wouldn't fill up with earth when the creature was burrowing. Although koalas now live in trees, the pouch still faces backwards, and this can be a problem. If the animal loses muscle control of the pouch, there's a danger of the baby falling out. When Molly was examined in the lab, the researchers were amazed to find that her pouch was divided in two by a membrane of skin. They'd never seen an abnormality like this before, but more worrying was the fact that it probably meant that Molly would never have babies. While we've got Molly here, let's have a look at some of the features of a koala that enable them to survive in the bush.
She hasn't got very good eyesight, it's actually quite poor. They've got a much better sense of smell. They actually have been observed to smell leaves before they eat them, and it's quite possible that they can tell a whole lot about the leaves, about how good it is to eat, just from the smell. You can see just how thick Molly's fur is and how good it is, particularly on the back. If Molly's cold, she'll curl up into a ball in the tree, and so she'll be all curled up and just have this back fur exposed, which will keep her really well insulated. If she's hot, then she sprawls out on a branch and shows she's got lots of her surface area exposed, lots of her skin exposed to help radiate heat.
The back foot of the koala is worth looking at. You'll notice it's got this toe here has got no claw on it whatsoever, and that's used like a thumb to grip. Now these, what looked like 3 different fingers here, or toes, in fact this one is a double toe. The toes are fused together and the claws are now left on the end of that fused double finger, and it can use it like a comb, so it will groom itself, it'll pick out insects, it'll clean the fur from of any dirt material. And then you've got your basic climbing claw on these other toes. We'll compare this with the front foot, and it's quite a difference.
We can see that they're obviously very strong arms because they're climbing trees all the time, and we can see just how big and sharp these claws are. Also notice the fact that they have 2 thumbs on their front paws, and they have 3 separate claws as well. And you can see just how long and sharp the claws and how big the hands are.
She's got 2 sets of incisors. You can see a large double tooth at the front. And then she's got 3 pairs of upper incisors that are up in there. Okay. Then there's a gap. And then there's a little canine tooth which is poking through right in there. And then further back from that you've got the molar teeth which grind up the leaves. But you can see that these things can bite very hard. Not only are those claws very big and sharp, but the teeth, those 2 incisors where they meet there, can make a very dangerous wound.
After examination, the koala is released, generally as close as possible to the site of its capture. But it will be relocated if the animal was found near a busy road or some other potential source of danger. In the laboratory, a small tissue sample reveals the animal's DNA, allowing the researchers to work out the family links between the various koalas. So that it can provide further information in the future, the tissue sample is stored at -70 degrees centigrade. Microscopic examination of koala droppings can identify which species of tree the koala has been feeding on and which types of leaves it prefers. Even dead koalas can be useful for research, as the skulls can provide a lot of information.
Now here we have a female skull, which is the smaller one on the right, compared to the larger male skull on the left. Now we know they're approximately the same age because of the wear being so similar on the cutting tooth and the first molar. There's not only a size difference, but look at this ridge of bone that runs along the top of the skull. Now muscles will attach to that side and down through to the lower jaw, and similarly across there and down through to the lower jaw. The female lacks that central ridge, and so the musculature that would attach to that would be smaller. Now as the animal gets older, these cusps wear down, and you can see at the front here, this molar tooth is quite worn. and this little cutting tooth right at the front of the row is even further worn. This enables us to tell the ages of animals by the amount of wear that we'll find on the molars. As the animal gets older, you get more and more wear going right down to the fourth molar, right on the end of the row.
Koalas usually give birth to only a single young. Weighing about half a gram, the baby climbs from the birth opening into the pouch, where it stays for about 24 weeks feeding from the mother's teat. At 36 weeks, it leaves the pouch and spends its time clinging to its mother's back. At about a year old, it leaves the mother for good to make a life for itself. A koala's lifespan is 10 to 15 years. If you're lucky enough to see a koala in the wild, it's usually sitting placidly in a tree, but this image is deceptive. Koalas actually roam quite a lot, up to 500 metres in a single night, and they may roam over an area of up to 200 hectares. In more fertile areas where food is plentiful, a koala's home range may be only 3 or 4 hectares. Males tend to have larger home ranges, and young males will travel considerable distances to find a mate or a new area which isn't the territory of another male. This roaming, however, exposes the koalas to considerable danger. If roads run through a koala's home range, then the koala will regularly cross the road and will be in danger from passing traffic. Dogs will kill koalas, and young koalas are particularly vulnerable.
This is the skull of a young animal, and you can see that the top of the skull is broken in completely, and this was done by a dog. You can see where the teeth is actually penetrated through the skull here and into the brain, which would have killed the animal very quickly.
Clearing trees for roads or houses deprives the koalas of the trees they need for food. And weeds may stop or hinder growth of new trees, which future generations of koalas will depend on. The loss of connecting bushland also prevents the movement of young koalas between suitable breeding forests. Individual colonies are disappearing one by one. Probably the greatest danger to koala colonies is fire. A fierce summer fire roaring along the Georges River Valley could destroy much of the Campbelltown population in a few hours. The best safeguard for koalas is for younger animals to set up additional colonies in surrounding areas, but there must be sufficient bushland for this to happen. So what can you do to protect koalas? Firstly, report any sightings of koalas, alive or dead. This will help us to locate new animals and identify areas where koalas live. Feedback from you can give us more accurate information on numbers and movements and help us to protect inhabited areas. So if you see or hear of a koala, call the Koala Report line on 9962 999 This number alerts Stephen and Robert immediately so they can locate the animal before it moves away. Koalas can be very difficult to spot, and many Campbelltown residents may be visited by koalas without realising it. There are a couple of distinctive signs to look out for. Firstly, you may find scratches left in the bark of trees. The distinctive double scratch is left by the double thumb of the koala as it clutches the tree trunk. However, other tree climbing animals, such as the brush-tailed possum, may leave similar scratches. Additional evidence of koalas is a distinctive dropping which will often be found around the trunk of the tree. Koalas drop up to 70 of these pellets every day and may use them as a signal to other koalas. The pellets have a characteristic aroma of eucalyptus. If you're not sure, seal them up in a small jar for a few hours. The eucalyptus smell will then be quite noticeable. So, check the trees in your garden. If you have the scratches and the pellets, you can be certain of koala visitors. To spot them, look hard into the crown of the tree, or better still, search at night with a spotlight for the red-eye shine of the koalas. Koala mating season is between September and March, and this is the time to listen at night for the sound of males bellowing to their mates and competitors. A koala bellowing sounds like this. Other things you can do are drive carefully in bushland areas, particularly between the koala warning signs. If you do hit an animal, stop and investigate. Call us immediately. If the animal is injured and you feel you must move it, wrap it up in a blanket and secure it carefully. Don't handle it without sun protection. Remember those teeth and claws. If the animal is dead, put it in a safe place, mark the position and call us immediately. Avoid removing trees and support moves to prevent destruction of woodland for inappropriate development purposes. If you have a dog and you live in a possible koala area, don't allow it to roam free at night. If you hear barking at night, investigate immediately with a spotlight and look for scratches and pellets next morning. Likewise, keep cats inside at night. If you have room in your garden, plant eucalypts. Favourite trees for koalas are the grey gum, the blue-leaved stringy bark and the forest red gum. You could also plant the silver-top ash, the whipstick mallee ash, the brown stringy bark, the Sydney peppermint, the manna gum or the blackbutt. If you have a swimming pool, hang something thick and coarse in the side of the pool so that if a koala falls in, it can climb out again. Don't dump weeds and garden waste in bushland areas. They can strangle young eucalypt seedlings. Be very careful with fire, especially in hot, windy conditions. Remember that a single fire could destroy all the breeding koalas in the Campbelltown area. Join the MacArthur Advertisers Koala Club and keep up to date with what the researchers are doing. This also supports Stephen's research. With your help, the Campbelltown koalas can survive and spread into suitable adjoining areas. Protection of koalas also conserves the many other species which play a vital part in maintaining healthy bushland. Campbelltown is fortunate to be bordered by a beautiful river and diverse bushland. The Campbelltown koalas are thriving and breeding well, and as the colony expands, it becomes more likely that local residents could spot a koala somewhere nearby. These children found one in their schoolyard at Kent Lynn. Research like that at the University of Western Sydney MacArthur ensures that your children, and their children too, will be able to wander into our bushland and know that koalas are somewhere nearby. Oh, and remember Molly, the koala with the abnormal pouch? She was caught again recently and provided the researchers with a big surprise. Molly's pouch had repaired itself and it now contained a healthy 3-month-old baby girl. It's moments like these you feel it's all worthwhile. And don't forget, if you see any sign of a koala, the number to ring is 9962 999 6.